Round two, we're going to keep this hand. Seems fine to me. Got some early death touch. We've got our win con in hand. Necropod, Mr. Overperformer. You know, alright. As bad as Howlpack Wolf is in our deck, I like it a lot more when I've got Rancid Rats in hand. Because then at least I can swing and not really care that I can't block. All I need for Howlpack Wolf is both Howlpack Wolves, and then we're in good shape. I will say, I mean, a 3-mana 3/3 in red is very efficient, but not being able to block when you're like a deck is kind of mediocre as ours. That card's really good. Ongoing Investigation is a really good card. I've been really impressed with that. I only played against it once, but just the way that it looks is very good. No play is nice. Hey, Sinister Concoction's not bad either. I don't have double black for it yet, though. That's okay. No 4-drop either? It's like Christmas over here. Hey, second black too? It is Christmas. Did our opponent mulligan? I feel like they don't have any cards in hand. They kept their hand. Silent Observer. Alright, I guess we'll bust the reduce. Next turn we're in Necropod territory. It's almost too good. What the? What do you have in your hand? What has my opponent got in his hand? Hey, actually, Sinister Concoction with Ghoul Caller's Accomplice is not the worst synergy I've ever seen. It's not the worst synergy I've ever seen. Even if it's the Flash guy, I don't really care. Yeah, this is fine. I don't even think you're blocking, are you? Oh, you are. Okay. Why didn't you do that on your Silent Observer? Alright. We're gonna bust the concoction here. No investigate for you, sir. I guess you get to use ongoing investigation now. What did I get rid of? Wait a second. I forgot to use post-combat accomplice. I messed up there. My mistake. I'm so synergistic, I can't even keep up with my own synergies. Harvest hand. I guess Howlpack Wolf's good when you're super far ahead. I don't think Harvest Hand's very good synergy, though, with the ongoing investigation, right? Guess I can sandbag the land. It's pretty irrelevant now. I've got plenty to sack to Necropod. It is a human. Rabid bite. Alright. Think you're dead, sir. Nobody expects the menace. Look at all this ghetto evasion our deck has. Alright. There it is. So we're playing against blue-green. Our opponent did only see one forest. Maybe they just had... No, they didn't have any cards left, though. So we saw every deck out of our opponent. We saw how many more lands we only... Or how many less lands? Opponent ended up with 8. We ended up with 7. So we only saw one less land. That was quite a match. Or quite a game, rather. We still don't have much of a sideboard. I mean, pick the brain for like his 4-drops. I don't like it. The fact that our deck can get Delirium is cool, but Delirium is kind of irrelevant in this format, I would think, for the most part. Okay, well, Howlpack Wolf looks good when your opponent's not playing anything, but I don't like it against Ongoing Investigation very much. Let's have another go at it. Yeah, it's definitely a keep. My opponent's name Liger, or is that an I? You know how desperately I want this Sinister Concoction, Twins of Mauer Estate synergy, right? I only need 4 mana. Do need another black, but I'm not going to complain about the current state of our turn progression. What do I value more, Revenant or Crow of Dark Tidings? I guess Crow deals more damage. Farbog is more evasive. That thing has Skulk. Rancid Rats. Well, Revenant versus Rats versus Crow. Crow flies. Farbog blocks. Rats blocks. Could attack with Mage, fake like I have something, which I'm not in love with. I feel like we just play the Revenant and pass. Gives me 2 1/3 blockers for his Uninvited Geist. You know how desperately I want to do this sweet Twins of Mauer Estate synergy, right? Explorers are good. Guess we swing with the Revenant and play the Crow. I'm gonna start getting some damage through. Prefer to not mill 2 swamps. Well, I didn't mill 2 swamps. Alright. Offer up some blocks. Not 2 swamps. Alright, lost another swamp, but guess next turn we were going to draw a non-swamp anyway. Uh-oh. So he's got the mana for the Flash Flyer. We're not going to attack with the Mage for that reason. We'll play this Rotten-Hearted Ghoul. Alright. There we go. So now I think we swing team, because if he Flash Flies, we'll just Twins of Mara Estate. With the concoction. Looks like he didn't have it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll just play the Tormentor and pass. Okay. We have been canceled. Still head on board. Got a removal waiting for us to use. I probably want to play around pumps. I see no need to do Reduce to Ashes here. Play our rats, which are some much needed evasion at the moment. All right. Okay. All right. Got a pretty good turn there. 1 card left. So, we want to sinisterly concoct a plan here. Let's just go... Revenant Rats. You can't equip this and transform if we let it die. But I don't think that works, right? Well, that happens at this... No, it dies and then it returns transform. So Heirloom doesn't even work with Harvest Hand, is that right? Yeah. Alright. Guess we're just Twins of Mara stating. And taking out the 3/3. And then we'll reduce this Stitchwing Scab to ashes. Untap up to 2 lands, discard a card. So I could play around a Broken Concentration, number 2. Well, they can't counter Concoction anyway. Alright, whatever. We'll let them do it. Alright. So we'll take out the 3/3. Discard Twins. Cast it. Take 4. Alright. So we'll reduce the Stitchwing Scab to ashes. Actually, I guess we gotta reduce this to ashes so we can keep the attack going. Although he doesn't really want to block with that, does he? He can block the Revenant, but I'm willing to trade this. Well, sadly, our Skull Guys are our main source of damage right now, which is just odd. We're going to reduce this while we still can, because we'll always be able to reduce the Stitchwing Scab, but if he equips that, then it's out of reduce range. We've got the slowest and steadiest beats I've ever seen. It could swing with Team. He can block. I guess he can't really block super effectively with Harvest Hand. And if he doesn't block, well, he would block at least this, so he would take an extra 4. I mean, we're a bit ahead on the board. But I think we just swing with these. He's got 1 card left, so do we, but we've got the ace in the hole for his big flyer. All right. Some good card draw in there. See if he's got the madness. Not a huge deal if he does. Graph Mole. Discarding the Graph Mole is weird. I guess just means you don't have the trick. watching the web. All right, well, cannot block. Look at Skulk. Me say, you know, Skulk doing something is one of the most like satisfying things you could possibly imagine. Considering how underwhelmed I was by this mechanic at the beginning of the format, I gotta say I'm pretty happy with it right now. Being able to consistently push damage through is pretty nice. Yeah, this won't work. Okay. Can't do anything about that. He is out of cards, though, and we're still... Got about a 9-turn clock. I mean, I guess a pump spell would do some work for us. Increase that clock by 4 turns. I don't mind being in the middle of a top deck war on this board state, though. I mean, we're ahead on board. We've got flyers, although he's got the Watcher now, so flyers do not do anything. Howlback Wolf. So rotten-hearted. It's going to be a while before we can get past that Watcher in the web. I guess technically we have one more reduced to ashes in there somewhere. All right. Certainly not concerned about that. Wholly irrelevant. Would be funny if he used a buff spell on our Revenant so that he could block it. I guess technically that is something you can do. I haven't seen that yet, but that is something. It's odd how Menace works against Watcher in the Web, because Menace requires that 2 guys block it, and even though Watcher in the Web can block up to... It's funny that this can't block a Menace creature, even though it can block an additional 7 creatures each combat. It kind of... I don't know. It's like... kind of disregards the entire purpose of it, you know? I cannot believe how much work this Farbuck Revenant has done. Cannot imagine a more grindy match here. My opponent must be endlessly... It's got to be endlessly frustrating to be... I don't even need to use... I have no need to use Reduced to Ashes. Like, I could reduce to ashes his Watcher. Why would I need to push the pace here? I really have no incentive to do so. I guess it's out of reduced to ashes range now, but really not convinced that matters. Got 1 rats left. Crow. Crow's a bit of a liability. I've only got 10 cards left in my deck after this. Howlpack Wolf in a Swamp, neither of which matter all that much. Well, I guess I can attack with Crow and then throttle the Watcher, but he might have a combat trick. Well, now I guess I can reduce to ashes the El Watcher. Oh, let's throttle. Response here. He should have saved that, I think, for my Farbog Revenant. Just basically taking a 2-for-1. I guess he probably re-equips the Watcher, though. I just didn't want him to investigate. Huh. What does Daring Sleuth turn into again? It's like an Ophidian. Oh, that's a pretty good one. All right. Quite the strange match. Skulk has been MVP for our extremely mediocre deck, so I'm starting to come around a little bit on it in this deck, where how sad is it to be pushing through 1 damage a turn for the win? That is such a grindy, slow strategy, but I guess it worked in this case. Okay, on to the finals.